All right.
What?
Maybe not Ben Rasa, but I guarantee you at least 65% of the people bitching and moaning on social media about this overtime rule, if it were the opposite, wouldn't even say a word because they wanted Josh Allen and the Bills to win.
Yeah,
if Allen did it.
I mean, that's just how people are. I mean, look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs a couple years ago, they didn't get the ball against Brady. And it's like, but it's just,
hey, you know the rules coming into this, man. You know the risks coming into this.
That's fair. They didn't know the rules. Should have called heads. Just brutal.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's do it. Welcome in. We hope you survived that weekend. My goodness. Hopefully your heart was able to withstand the ups and downs. Probably had an EKG machine like I did here next to me on the couch, going up and down, just trying to stay alive with this ridiculous energy that was throughout the weekend. 3 dogs win outright. And we had arguably the game of the century last night in Arrowhead. But don't worry, because we're shifting now for a juicy OddsShopper special NBA edition, but with Ben Rasa, Mike Awesemo producing, you out there hitting the thumbs up button and subscribing, of course, with your lock it up play, as we always ask. We can't move to the association tonight, Ben, without at least acknowledging what happened this past weekend, Saturday and through Sunday night.
Yeah, I mean, incredible set of games. Just, it started out with 2 lackluster, kind of ugly games, and it finished with a true classic. Obviously, Buffalo, I think everyone can realize how good Buffalo is, and Kansas City is just equally as good. Just what an incredible game. So it was fascinating. There's a million different angles you could take. From the betting standpoint, actually, it went pretty well. A lot of the things we talked about, the rushing, that is something that I was really happy to see. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes being so active on the ground. That was something we talked about on Thursday. And it was such an easy, sweat-free type bet. The Titans were the big disappointment for me. I like them quite a bit. They did not get it done. Tannehill, very disappointing. But other than that, San Francisco, just an awesome team. Obviously, we saw the Rams, and then we saw just the game of all games yesterday night.
Look, for me, it was the Packers. Like, I lost that day. I lost the battle and the war all in one, where all of my plays on Green Bay just disintegrated in front of my hands, as did my huge plus 2,000 futures ticket I had on them way back when those Rodgers retirement in the summer rumors were going on. So, yeah, it was not only a kick, it was like a finishing kick to me. But the Chiefs saved me. And I know Mike here doesn't want to hear that because the Bills ripped his heart out, like I'm sure a lot of other people, especially with the OT rule in question. But I get my ass kicked in 3 straight games, only for a clean sweep. And one of those was, as we talked about last week, the parlay of both quarterbacks going over. So what a weekend. I don't even know. Like, I'm barely alive right now after that weekend.
It was just incredible. Again, it was just, I think most people, my entire Twitter was filled with it. It felt a little lackluster at the end, just because you want to see if the Bills could answer, and they don't get that chance because of the bad rules. But that doesn't take away from the fact that they obviously blew the game by not squib kicking it and all the other things. Just an incredible game. Obviously, on a DFS standpoint, Gabriel Davis broke the slate 4 times over, which was quite frustrating as someone who was set up very well before those 5 late touchdowns. But all in all, I mean, the NFL product, I think at times has been terrible this year. They made up for it with a bang yesterday. Some of the best games that you're going to see all year and probably ever.
Absolutely. All right. So we want to hit the NBA hard tonight. That's the idea. We've got 4 games to go through, and we'll keep that structure as we did over the weekend, really looking at the NFL games. We'll bounce game to game, give a play on the side, total, whatever we found here. So if you have one, I know Dan, this is like right up Dan's alley here in the chat. So I'm sure he's got a couple of first quarter plays that we could insert into our large ticket. And we'll do that. We'll bounce back and forth. I've already put mine in there, went 4 of 8 over the ones that we gave out on Thursday, enough to like salvage a round robin, if you will. So pay attention to the other guy here. That's why you're here in the first place. Let's start with the Cavs, Knicks. Knicks are struggling to get back to 500, which seems to have just been a major issue for them. It's like a ceiling for them whenever they get to 500. Meanwhile, the Cavs are outlasting everybody's, well, when are they going to fall? When is that other shoe going to drop type questions here. Couple of guys are out, right? No marketing, at least for Cleveland. A lot of guys in question here for the Knicks. Why don't you start with a side total here?
Yeah, so I do want to start just in basics. Obviously, we haven't talked a lot of NBA on this show, and it is different. All of the sports are different when you bet them. And I think the clear thing about the NBA is a lot more projectable. And what I mean by that is, you know, the guys, there's rotations, there's minutes, and certainly we see this on the DFS side. You can kind of hone in on at least the personnel that's going to be out there. And that makes it, I'm not going to say easier to bet. It's just different. And that's why I rely even heavier on OddsShopper for the NBA, because the projections, they're a lot more stable in a sport like this. You don't just see like a guy who doesn't play, he can't catch 4 touchdowns randomly. He's not in the game. He's not on the court. So it's a little different in this regard. Now, getting back to this game, we look at OddsShopper, we see the Cavs are 6.5 point favorite at home. The first thing I'm drawn to, honestly, is why I kind of do lean to the Cavs. It's Darius Garland has been absolutely fantastic. And Cleveland, of course, it suffered some losses, suffered some personnel. You mentioned some of the injuries, but it's still a pretty good core. They've got the bigs, but Darius Garland has just been super impressive to me all season long. And I think that's where I'm drawn. Cleveland 13-9 at home, you know, nothing crazy with the splits. The Knicks somehow are better on the road, but they're hovering around 500. Not a strong game. We're going to talk about every game. I'm not going to make a pick in every game, but if I had to pick this, I would lay the points with the Cavs. What about you?
Yeah, look, I'm right there with you. I actually did play this.
Okay.
And I jumped in at 6.5. It was at 6 earlier. I liked it then. 6.5 is fine for me in this particular case. And I'm looking at the two teams. Even without Lauri Markkanen, you've got a couple of 7-footers up front. It's not easy for this Knicks front court. Even Barrett on the wing. OddsShopper has both Barrett and Randall, and these are free projections alongside the tool that you can use to sort by XWin or XROI. They have them pretty low, like mid-teens as far as point productivity. We'll get to the other guy who I think can do something in this game on New York side, but this is all Cleveland here. And this Cavs team, they're deep, they're balanced. Garland is on an absolute freaking tear. This is not my player prop, but since we're on the same side in Cleveland, let me add this in here. His assist total for the most part is going to be 8.5 right now until that moves, but you're laying heavy juice on that. Just look at what he's done over the past 5, 6, 7 games. There's a ridiculously closer probability for him to hit 10 assists than for him to just sit at 9. So if you're going to go over 8.5, you might as well go 10 plus assists at plus 116. That's my suggestion here. This young man is on a tear right now, and it's incredible to see. It's like a yo-yo. He's just threading the basketball on a nightly basis. So yes to the Cavs. The Knicks just don't have it. And that was my little slide in there for a player prop for you.
Yeah, I mean,
but I have another one for the Knicks.
Fair enough. I mean, looking at this game, I think it could be somewhat of a, I don't want to say a slog fest, but I don't expect an up and down clean game. Cleveland just plays very sound. They're a sound defensive team. Almost every metric I look at, they don't stand out where it's like, wow, Cleveland is first in the league in all this, but they don't have any glaring weaknesses either. Just middle of the road, very steady. The Knicks have been on a 4-game homestand. They hit the road here. So I look at it, and most of OddsShopper right now is shading to the unders. The under on Barrett, the under on Randall, the under on Garland, even in some of these points props. So I think it's just saying maybe it's a low key methodical type game. 202.5 over under is pretty low. It's the lowest on this slate by 13 points. So I think this game could easily be played in the 90s. Maybe you get under on some of these props, but I think the Cavs defense does enough tonight. Pretty comfortable win at home for them.
The only thing I'll add is I stayed away. It was either lay the points with Cleveland or go under in this game. And I just don't trust Cleveland in the total standpoint. Like, I don't trust that you won't see a player or two explode. They could shoot as well. Look, the Knicks are great when it comes to defending the 2, but you could take advantage of them from the 3-point line. So I just plus down low. We have both. Really Mitchell Robinson still in question as well for New York. So that's why I didn't trust Cleveland ultimately in this to stay below their team total but I love Cleveland laying the points there. Was there a player prop that jumped out at you? And again, if it's Garland, if it's anybody that you want to target on Cleveland, or maybe on the counter side, like more of a run back here with the Knicks.
No, I think for me, I'm just going to stay with the news here. Like someone like an under on RJ Barrett. I'm fine with that. I would lean under. OddsShopper leans under, but just going to keep an eye on it. I think lower scoring game, but for this one, nothing really stood out. I'm not going to go under on a Garland prop and bet the Cavs. Not that that can't work, obviously. I just don't like to do that. I either structure where I'm betting a team and I'm going over on some of their key contributors, or I'm shorting a team and I'm going under on some of their key contributors.
So I'm going to try and take advantage. I don't even think we're creating a middle here, if you will, but I'm looking at the under. I'm looking at Barrett. You mentioned Barrett, Randall, a couple of guys here, heavy fades from their point total on Awesemo that you get free on OddsShopper. I'm going to try to take advantage of Evan Fournier here.
Okay.
And it's look, I'm not even going to take the risk so much as I'm just going to play it straight. Evan Fournier, 3+ made threes is -102. And when you look at the volume that we've seen from him, even when he struggled 2 games ago, he still took 6 threes. He was 4 of 8 last game, 5 of 10. He's taken at least 5 threes in 5 straight games. And if you start to look at the volume there, getting to 3 at -106 seems like a pretty good rate, where normally this would probably be like a -110 to maybe a -115 bet. So I think we're actually getting ahead of a little value here by taking him at 3+. Not trying to get greedy or belligerent and go 4+ for big money. I think we can keep it straight and narrow here for a guy who should be taking 6 to 7 threes tonight against this squad for the Knicks.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're going there. He's been shooting at a really good clip. That's the one thing that's a little concerning. Like, if you're shooting 50% from 3, you don't need to take that many to clear these. The Cavs are a decent team defending the 3-point line. They're at, I think, let's see, I have it right here, 34%, 9th in the league. So quality, nothing that stands out in a massive way. I'm kind of agnostic on that. If you want to go there, I think you need to budget 7 or 8 threes has got to be the volume that you're looking for. You don't want to, if you think he's taking 5, 6 threes, you're asking him to shoot 50% or more. That's a tough ask for anybody, of course.
Right. And I think 5 is, and 5.5, let's say, is his floor.
Yeah, that's
his
fair.
last 5 games. Right. All right. So let's keep it moving here from that Knicks Cavs game. We go to the Pacers Pelicans. Pacers are down a lot of people, right? Sabonis, Turner. We know Brogdon even right down. So Karis LeVert looks to be the only guy who could play tonight. Game time decision. Let's start with the game itself here. Look, I don't mind, especially if you're working some sort of parlay here, round robin, whatever you want. -158 is not a bet I would play individually straight up. But if I'm working something with another play or two, the Pelicans winning this game, I just don't see how they lose this game at home to an Indiana Pacers team who just has way too many components out. And it doesn't mean that it won't be a high scoring, low scoring, etc. I just would rather err on the side of caution and take that -158 and parlay it with like your favorite play of the night.
Yeah, I have no problem. I mean, I'm not backing Indiana in this spot. First of all, they're 5-18 on the road. That's just absolutely pathetic. Kind of like the over in the game. I think that both of these teams, there's going to be some personnel missing. I'm not expecting an efficient game, but I am expecting possibly, a little increase in tempo and whatnot. New Orleans at times is just bad defensively. I think we could see something like that. It's hard to really hone into a game. This is why, of course, we have content leading you all the way up to lock. You have to keep an eye on who's in because we just don't know. LeVert sporting a Q tag. You mentioned Sabonis, Brogdon, Turner. We've got Duarte. We've got, Goga. I mean, it's
don't sleep. Batadze.
So player prop wise, I think you can really look to him because he's going to be solidified in that front court.
Smashes over on the what is it, 7.5 if it hasn't moved?
Yeah, 7.5.
At 8.5. Oh, come on.
7.5 at -125. Very good.
Seriously.
Number.
Look, you could even push it if you want. Like, okay, 7.5. What is he for 10+ rebounds? He's +154. So it's not worth it for me. I'd like that to be north of 200, right, for 10+ rebounds. But yeah, over his rebound total. Absolutely. What are we doing here, right?
I'm with you. I think that this is where you can get into some of that stuff, and it feeds into the narrative of the game that I at least think we're going to see, which is not efficient. Obviously, rebounds they need to miss, and I think in a game like this, you can have plenty of misses, no doubt about it. So if you get a little pace up in tempo, both these teams do not play overly fast, but I think it could be a little faster tonight. You've got some guys getting new minutes and new roles. New Orleans is taking the money. I see 3.5 creeping up. I like that. I think you could lean over, but to me, the best play in this entire game is on the player prop side.
All right, so let me throw my one player prop that I like here in this game, and I'm taking a little bit of a risk, but even if Karis LeVert plays, I don't think it's going to eat into this prop so much. You mentioned Duarte, and that's another guy who's clearly going to take shots. But look, Justin Holiday out there, we've seen volume, we've seen opportunity where nobody has been there around him. Even that game again, and look, the Suns, granted, tough spot defensively, but even that Warriors game in overtime took 9 threes. So I'm going to take a little bit more of a risk here on this 3 prop play and take him at 4+ threes for plus 205. Again, I'm just banking on volume. That's what I need. If I can get 8 or 9 threes tonight from Holiday, even if LeVert plays, but if he doesn't, I think that even helps me exponentially. I'm really only worried about who? Chris Duarte taking away a couple of 3 looks from Holiday. Holiday could shoot at will, and nothing is going to happen to him tonight. So I look at that. I'm trying to get ahead of it at 4+. If LeVert is ruled out, I anticipate that dropping to probably 180, something along those lines. So that was my thinking. Right or wrong, at least that was my thinking.
So New Orleans, unlike the teams we just talked about, they do stand out. New Orleans' 3-point percentage in terms of defense is 29th in the league at 37%. They do a horrible job of defending behind the arc. So not only Holiday, anyone who's going to be taking threes, they're going to be getting pretty efficient looks if we want to take a season, litmus test of what New Orleans has been doing. So I'm with you there. I think you can look a lot of ways with both of these teams getting opportunities. These guys are going to have the green light because of the personnel. I have no problem with that. I like that one better than the Fournier one.
All right, so here's the difference, right? 3+ is -132. The jump to 4+ is +210. So when we start to fill in the details, it's variable, it's volume, right? It's opportunity. It's the fact that you have a bunch of guys out and there may only be one other guy on the team that's taking a look or 2 away. So does that make sense? And I'm asking you, does that make sense to play it there from a risk standpoint when the jump is so significant from -132 to +210, where we're really talking about a same area there with the volume we expect?
I mean, again, I think it's just risk tolerance. You're obviously evaluating the price. When you're talking about low numbers, it sometimes seems like, oh, well, it's just one more. It's still massive. Like the difference between hitting, 2 threes or 3 threes or 3 threes or 4 threes in a game is gigantic. But having said that, this is a pretty good spot. We've seen Holiday have games. I'm just looking over the game log. He had a 1 of 9 there. And what I look at that, you think 1 of 9, that's terrible. When a guy is that cold, to see him keep shooting is important because you want the volume. Obviously, he's got plenty of games where he shoots a better clip than 11%. I feel pretty positive in the sense that I'm encouraged that he can take, 6, 8, 9 threes in this game, regardless of script, regardless of pace. And that is a positive from that prop.
Let's move to the Bulls here. And again, we appreciate you all hanging with us. So hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. See a couple of lock it ups there, including the Farmers, where we're going to have to get Ben's point of view on that before we get out of here. I've got a nice juicy lock it up that's right up Ben's alley when it comes to international soccer, but more on the NBA. And really just make sure you not only are hitting us up with your lock it up, that thumbs up button, and you're subscribed here. This community is growing by the day. So we appreciate everybody hanging with us either from day one or right now. Bulls, they're down everybody. Well, Vooch back, right? But Levine could be back. It's a mess there with Ball out. They've dropped a ton of games. This might, and this is what it looked like for me, at least, a pretty good opportunity to get a team right now at -130 on the money line in Oklahoma City. Like that didn't really, I understand Chicago is in a major tailspin, Ben, but to get them at -130 or so, depending on when you jumped in, at OKC seemed like you kind of had to take it.
I'm on the other side.
Wow.
I think this is a bad
Points
spot.
or money line?
Money. You can find, if you can get 2, I think that's fine. If you're seeing 1.5, just to me, take the plus money on Oklahoma City. I look at this spot. Obviously, first of all, it screams massive trap. When you look at these games, if you haven't really been digging in, you look at this and you're just like, well, the Bulls are good and Oklahoma City is terrible and they've lost 5 straight. Like, why is this a pseudo pick'em? Well, it's a pseudo pick'em because you just mentioned the Bulls are a team that is without a ton of production. Obviously, Caruso broke a wrist. Lonzo is hurt. Levine is sporting a Q-tag. Vooch is sporting a Q-tag. DeMar is doing everything he can to keep them afloat. They hit the road tonight to go up against an Oklahoma City team that at times has certainly shown it. And SGA is doing all he can to not even keep them afloat, but just to keep them from losing by like 90 points, which they already did this year once. So it's a team that's obviously been struggling. I do want to point out, though, they've lost 5 straight, 4 on the road, a tough road trip. Dallas, San Antonio, Charlotte, and Cleveland. I'm not sure how many of those games they're supposed to win. They come back home tonight. I think they look good. If the Bulls don't get anyone back, I'll take the Thunder to win.
What about SGA over 5.5 dimes? OKC. Colby Smith on the chat there.
All right, Kobe, let's take a look. I'm just going to do what I always do here. I go to OddsShopper. I'm clicking into the game. We've got SGA. I'm just going to search. We have it basically as a straight coin flip. We have him projected for 5.5. So if you lean over there, if you got a slight lean, I think that's totally in the range. We don't have a major lean saying go under. You're going to have to lay a little juice there, but if you think, as I do, that Oklahoma City can win this game, SGA is going to have to be involved. So I have no problem backing him in the prop world.
Yeah, I want nothing to do with the player props in this game outside of what OddsShopper tells me what to bet, right? I mean, DeRozan, look at this. You would think on the surface, Zach LaVine even playing tonight. I know he traveled, but LaVine playing tonight, do you anticipate, first off, it's against OKC, so they could be down. To your point, the Bulls could be down by double digits as bad as things have looked for Chicago. On top of that, he's coming back from the injury. Do we really anticipate 35, 38 minutes from LaVine tonight? I can't think we would. I was a little surprised to see Awesemo's projection for DeRozan so much lower than what the books have him at 29.5. Now, look, the underplay is going to hit 70% chance that it hits X win, at least on OddsShopper, but he's only projected for 25 without all of those guys around him. Maybe Vooch goes off for 50, but I don't know. That seemed like a pretty big gap, wide gap.
I mean, yeah, it's tricky. Obviously, DeMar has to shoulder a massive responsibility here. He's doing that. He's also just maybe keep this up. Like against Orlando last night, he was 15 or 21 from the field. Like, that's ridiculous. That's 71% from the field, 11 of 13 from the line. I'm not saying that Oklahoma City's defense is specifically built to mitigate that. They're not a good team, but I don't love the back-to-back nature of it. They're in a struggle situation. DeRozan to me is doing everything he can. I'm not looking to short him, but there's no way I would bet over 29.5. It would be under or pass.
LaVine's out. Are you going to go over that number?
No, still no.
Still no. Okay. Just trying to see if that.
If LaVine is out, though, I'll say this: I'm going to be a lot more likely to just pass on it because I really respect DeMar DeRozan. He's playing at an MVP level. I think that for me, this is a game that if you can get Oklahoma City +2, it's a decent spot. If you like an SGA prop or something like that, more power to you. But I'll back the Thunder tonight.
You know, who's playing like an MVP right now? Be a guy that's not on the slate. Can't talk about him tonight. But you lost
Embiid.
Why'd you give me that look? Like what? Embiid? Why'd you give you gave me one of those without even having to say it? Your eyes said everything there. All right, this last game, fourth game. Unless you have anything else in this basketball game,
no,
I'm trying my best to set it and forget it and not be emotionally invested in this Bulls Thunder game. So if you're okay if we move on.
The last thing I'll say is, and obviously it comes with the territory of all betting, backing bad teams is always, it feels terrible because, like, you know, the Thunder are a poor team. They could get blown out tonight, of course, but it's not about that. It's about, are they more valued getting a couple points in this game? I think the answer to that is yes, and I will back them accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you're backing the Flyers or anything.
Yeah, I've already tried that this week.
All
Oh
right.
my.
So let's look at this last game here. We'll tell you about BetMGM coming up in a minute, where you can get 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. But let's start at least your side here. Jazz are down Mitchell. Jazz are down Gobert. Suns are down Ayton, Crowder, Campaign. A lot of guys out. Where to begin with you, Ben?
This could be, if everyone's healthy, just like what a game. I would love to see this. But we just don't have the personnel. That this Phoenix is they're a 9.5 point favorite here. I think that's warranted. I'm not looking to mess around against the Suns team. That's just, I talk about respect. They're just, amongst the favorites in all this. And the Jazz right now are just not at full strength. They're always much stronger at home. It hasn't really bared out this season, but Phoenix is just a juggernaut, 36-9. I would love to give I really like a side. It feels about right to me. Phoenix should be flirting with a double-digit fave, and they are.
So I think what we saw with the Jazz Warriors, now granted, it was a tighter game, so I don't think from a standpoint of result, but just lower scoring. They're down a couple of key components. The Suns missed some scoring in certain areas, like with Ayton down low and also Crowder and Payne to right from outside. So I look at this total and I thought it was a little high. Now, maybe it hasn't reflected totally with guys who are out. I know Gobert is technically doubtful, what have you, but 221, again, we talked about it earlier with the Knicks Cavs, where one team can do a lot of damage here, but I just don't trust both Utah and Phoenix to put up a lot of points to go over that number. It's a key number. I get it, but I'll go under 221. That was the one thing that jumped out. Look, I love Phoenix. I think like you love Phoenix, but the bigger thing for me was I can trust the Suns offensively to widen the gap, as you mentioned, and also defensively to limit a banged up Jazz squad. So under 221 was the one for me.
I'm not going to push back on that. So the thing that's super interesting to me and why I have real trouble doing anything actionable with Utah is Utah, as most people know with them, they shoot a lot of threes. They take over 40 threes per game. That's how they live. That's how they die. Phoenix is first in the entire league in opponent 3-point percentage, just 32.7%. That's a problem. If the Jazz can't thrive from behind the arc and Phoenix does the best job in the league at not letting that happen, I just don't know where the points come from. The personnel issues are a problem, and I think that shows tonight.
Let me ask you quickly, what do you think happens? Do you think the Suns, because I have a play, my player prop is based off of what you laid out, but I'm curious how you think this plays, because I think there are one or two things that could happen. The Jazz are just suffocated and they don't take as many threes as we normally see. The game slows down. You don't see as much transition off of long missed rebounds. Or the Suns are just making it so difficult, as we said, the Jazz are forcing shots, forcing threes from the outside. They're still taking a healthy amount, but they're missing a larger clip than they make, right? That would lead to more transition. That would lead to higher opportunities to score. So I think it's actually the latter, personally, but I'm curious to think where you think that is actually going to move the game script here with Phoenix's defense against the three.
I think it's the latter too. I don't know what the Jazz can do if they don't take a lot of threes. They're just really built around a specific way that they play, and they do it very well. The Jazz are a good team. They're just missing some of these pieces. So, yes, do I think that, a guy like Clarkson who can get in the lane and do some things? Yeah, he can be a volume shooter, of course, but all in all, they're going to need guys like Ingles, guys like Conley, and whoever else is out there to take threes, and obviously more importantly for them, make threes. I think they're going to take them. I'm just not sure if they're going to make them at a healthy clip, considering Phoenix is specifically built to limit teams from behind the arc.
All right, I'm going to hit you with my player prop. Anything you have in this game, we'll lock it up before we get out of here. There may be an appearance from the Ice. There may be an appearance from the Farmers. We may have to go all the way over to Africa for a play before we get out of here.
That's not happening. No more soccer for me.
Whoa. I may be able to convince you on something here. Look, this is short and sweet. You don't have Campaign out there. You don't have Jay Crowder out there. Devin Booker is not shooting the lights out on a nightly basis by any means. Yes, I don't think that Mikal Bridges is in line for 15 looks like he took last time out, but I think he's going to get close to that, especially because you're down a couple of guys who can also shoot from the outside and I expect Booker to struggle a little bit as he's been. Sure, look, he struggled against the Pacers, and that's more on Booker just not being able to find his shot. Mikal Bridges, and I'll leave you with this, and I think it's bordering a little bit the line of madness versus sanity here, but Bridges, with the looks he can get, 3+ threes is plus 380. Even you have to think that's a little off. Close to 4-1 for a guy, and granted, he hasn't hit that as far as makes are concerned, but I think you can bump up the volume of attempts by 1.5 to 2 threes tonight alone with the guys missing combined with Booker struggling.
So it's a volume issue. I just don't know if you're going to you have to get that part right. He has virtually no chance to get there if he only takes 4 threes, or he takes
Absolutely.
2 threes. Then that would be really interesting to see how you make 3. You're going to need something. Now, the personnel issues, this is the type of stuff, if you can infer and correctly project how that usage falls. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen, they're sporadic, but we have games where he's taken 7, 9, 8, 6 threes. That's what you need tonight. You obviously need to run hot, but you're getting north of 3-1. It's just about figuring out who, if anyone, benefits from what should be some shots up for grabs.
Any player props on your end you want to hit before we get out of here?
Nothing that really stands out. I do lean over on Chris Paul assists. He just should be able to really be the floor general. You mentioned Payne already, not being Chris Paul is going to do everything for this team. They should score at a reasonable clip. I don't know why he wouldn't have ample opportunities for a ton of assists in this game. They're going to probably win the game. They're 9.5 point favorites. He'll have 10 plus assists tonight.
All right, I didn't see a first quarter play up here from Dan, and we're winding down. I'm pretty disappointed because we have an NBA show specifically designed for some first quarter plays here. He is, which is a very fair, sharp thing to do. Shelton locked up Lee Hodges top 40 for the Farmers at plus 240, Ben Rasa.
Lee Hodges, yeah, he makes an appearance. He came from the actual clouds last week at the Amex. It is a loaded field. That's all I'll say. This is not the Amex. This is the Farmers. Big time names. Top 40 is a top 40. You know, he can make the cut and there, but I expect the leaderboard to be littered with the world's best this week.
All right, I'm going to hit you with the lock it up before we get out of here. Stars money line. Flyers are trash. They're dog shit. They haven't won in forever. They're not going to win at home. It doesn't matter where they play. Gritty could be out there. It's not going to work. So I'll take the Stars on the money line at minus 164 and go back to what we talked about earlier, which is finding a partner for the Pelicans money line at minus 154. That gets me at plus 165. I can't help it. I have to mention this before you lock it up and we get out of here. But Comoros, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this correctly. Comoros. Is it Comoros? Not Commodore, like the old computer. Comoros is playing Cameroon. Now, Comoros is a heavy dog, right? They are plus 2,700 right now in this game against Cameroon. They do not have a recognized goalie. Their last legit goalie has COVID, Ben Rasa. They are bringing a position player out there to play goalie. Now, I don't know if this is akin to bringing in Jose Canseco on the mound or a 4th-string wide receiver to play quarterback, but how can you not go over 3.5 goals? It's at minus 118. I got in earlier, and I even put it on the run sheet at minus 108. How can you not go over 3.5 goals in this game?
Well, I don't like that because these teams tend to play really, really slow. We've seen this a lot there. I'm not going to get into the African Cup of Nations too much, but just a lot of 1-0.
You follow
games. I bet it occasionally. Yeah,
yes, you do.
Cameroon, they're the much better side. I just don't know if you can rely on anything from Comoros. So,
no. I'm thinking that Cameroon's going to score 6 goals on a guy that
that just doesn't really happen there. That's just not how these teams play. It's very structured. It's very methodical. I will say, to your credit, Cameroon is one of the few sides that really do open it up a little more. We've seen them hang. They hung 4 goals on Ethiopia, but a lot of games where it's just pretty low scoring. I think for you to cash that, you need Comoros to put in 1 goal. If they do that, I think you get there, but I don't think it's 4-0.
Wow, I thought I had this locked down. I thought I had a sharp angle here with a team.
Maybe.
Like, can you imagine not having a quarterback, not having a starting pitcher? I would think that impacts you.
The number of people that could place Comoros on a map is few and far between. So you're already ahead of the curve knowing that it exists.
Lock it up, man, as we get out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to try to bring us back to reality after Comoros made the appearance. I will say again, it's good to see we are marching towards 3,000 subs. It's very exciting. It's because of you guys that we do this show. We hope you're enjoying it. If you do, hit us with that like and subscribe. And if you have any feedback, at Shander Show, at Raz DFS, if there's a sport, a topic that you say, hey, I'm looking to bet this or have questions, that's what we're here for. We're here to help you guys and hopefully make some money. I'm going to go to my bread and butter, which is college hoops. Some good games tonight. My favorite is North Carolina. They're at home against Virginia Tech. It's a 5-point spread. UNC's dropped a couple of games, but they were at Miami, at Wake Forest. Those are tough spots. They come back home to Chapel Hill. And to me, this is just going to be bully ball tonight. North Carolina, 9th in the country in total rebounds per game at 40.7. Virginia Tech, 287th in rebounding, 32 per game. I think they're going to get absolutely walloped on the boards. Virginia Tech has struggled all year in ACC play. They hit the road. 5 is good enough. 4.5 is even better. Lock it up. Tar Heels roll tonight.
Awesome. Appreciate everybody hanging with us. Thanks again. We'll back on Thursday to look at the conference championship and some other stuff. Who knows? Maybe Comoros advances. And
that would be absolutely insane. That's not going to happen, but I sure hope it does.
More corrupt or less corrupt things, I should say, have already happened in that cup league. All right. So we appreciate everybody again hanging with us. Make sure you take advantage of what we're doing with BetMGM below. Click on that, sign up. You'll get a risk-free bet. You can also get 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum with your $10 deposit and first bet. It's that easy. It's that simple. Thanks for hitting that thumbs up button. Thanks for subscribing. Ben, you've been telling them all about all the great stuff we have. More stuff coming up as well as we get closer to the Super Bowl. Cannot wait as we expand here.
Absolutely. Yeah, stay tuned for more NFL, NBA, college hoops, golf. We've got everything here on the OddsShopper channel. So for me, for Eytan, for Mike behind the glass, good luck. Enjoy these games. And we'll be back soon enough talking championship weekend in the NFL.
And golf.
And golf.